All right, welcome back to the Hip Hop Scholar Podcast. I'm honored as the host of this podcast, Melanie the Hip Hop Scholar. We have another special guest today. We are thrilled to have them for today's segment as I introduce Kyle Anthony Mosley. Now, I want to say this. I got to introduce this scholar in the best way. There are moments in every generation where someone steps forward, not just with talent, not just with drive, but with vision. Someone who refuses to be limited by one title or confined to one lane. Someone who moves with purpose, who creates with intention, and who documents the culture, not just as it is, but as it can be. And Kyle Anthony Mosley is one of those people. He is a theatrically trained actor. Kyle's foundation was built on the stage of Houston's world-renowned Alley Theater, where craft, discipline, and storytelling converge. That same stage presence, that same fire, is what brought him to the screen, one of such in the already released, highly acclaimed biopic on DJ Screw, Houston's own sonic innovator and the mastermind behind the chopped and screwed sound that changed hip-hop forever. But young Kyle is more than just an actor. He is a cultural curator, a journalist, a lens through which this generation sees itself, reflected with power and pride. As an HBCU culture and social media reporter, photographer, and videographer, Kyle is on the ground capturing the rhythm and resistance, the excellence and energy of college life. From the sidelines to the stage, from halftime shows to quiet moments of greatness, he's archiving the pulse of Generation Z, one frame at a time. Through his work with HBCU legends on Sports Illustrated Fan Nation, he is not just telling stories. He is amplifying voices, highlighting brilliance, and kept carving out a permanent space for Black legacy and leadership in sports, media, and beyond. Kyle Anthony Mosley is the now, but make no mistake, he's also the next. He is proof that the future is not just coming, it's already here, and it's bright, bold, and led by the future leaders like himself. A true hybrid creative, a bridge between performance and journalism, a child of Houston, a champion of culture, and without question, a leader of the new school. So Hip Hop Scholar family, I'm honored to bring our special guest to the podcast, the Mr. Kyle Anthony Mosley.
Hey, happy to be here. Actually, I'm overjoyed to be here. And that introduction, hey, I think that gave me more credit than I feel like I'm even due sometimes. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you
you
for
are
that.
very welcome. We are honored to have you here as the youth. And that's one aspect of this podcast is that, hip hop can bridge so many different generations. And it's
Most
just
definitely.
a real joy and even a gem to see that as a youth, as you represent Gen Z, you also were able to be able to honor DJ Screw. And I want to jump into that. Like, tell me about that experience being able to play in that biopic for the DJ Screw legacy.
Oh man, that was great. So I think for that we filmed back in, I want to say 2019 actually, or was it 2020? It was around COVID because then we had production issues when it came to editing because of COVID. People couldn't be in person, so we had delays when it came to putting things out. But the process of that was actually really funny. So it wasn't, the normal audition process. You submit, do your audition, blase, blase. They were looking for someone who looked like him. And I'm not somebody who ever thinks I look like somebody, except for my friends. They think I look like Chance the Rapper when I have a hat on. I don't see it. They do. But, to each their own. I'm a big Chance fan, though, so I guess I'll take the credit for sure, for sure. But going into that, they were looking for somebody who looked like the younger version of DJ Screw. And there's a picture of him. He's got like a hat on and he's chilling. And they were like, we need you to recreate the picture to see, so we can, because we think you do, but we're not sure. So my mom was like, all right, come on, let's do it. It's time for work. We do the picture, send it back. They hit us up, like, I'm pretty sure it was like the next day, very next day, they're like, we want you. I that was my first moment of, in any film or acting aspect of just being chosen like that up front. Because you prepare yourself for rejection, as you should naturally, just in life in general, but especially in the field that I'm in, like rejection is gonna come more than success. So getting a yes like that off rip, it was crazy, especially with the culture and just being from Houston, knowing who DJ Screw is. It's like wow, I I really couldn't believe it. I didn't think that I was gonna have the opportunity to embody him like that at all. So I'm thankful
Well,
still.
not only did they have the visionary to have someone that looked like DJ Screw, but also you being classically trained. And so, with that influence and that appreciation, how does that help you to understand hip hop culture or be able to kind of merge the two in that classically trained aspect, as well as being just a home of hip hop with Houston?
Well, based off what you just said, it's difficult actually bridging the gap as a classically trained actor because the work we do classically, it's so different from the cultural aspects that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. There's so many things that we're taught in acting classes, and it's like that does not reflect on actual Black life, Latin life, Asian life. Like that's not a true reflection of these cultures at all. But you're giving an image to people for what you think they might want to see. But in reality, people need realness. So that's why it's so difficult because we want to be true to the work. We want to show people what really happened. But I'll say for myself, when we were doing All Screwed Up, I was young, a little immature, but there was a realness about it because everybody was so committed to the project. You couldn't help but lock in and focus. You really couldn't. Didn't matter what was going on. I knew my lines. I'm ready. Let's go. It was so hot though, I will say, because we filmed out in the country. Jesus Christ. That country heat is something else. 90 degrees in Houston is different from 90 degrees out there on the farm. That was some other stuff. Uh-uh.
I know
I
what you.
don't. I will do it again though. Hey, anything for the art.
Absolutely, and having that training and that experience, still being able to hone in on those roots of being classically trained, but also being able to show that realness that goes into being not only a hip hop star, but even in Houston, being H Town born and raised, that's an honor in itself. So shout out to everybody that's born and raised from Houston, because most Houstonians, even like myself, we moved here, right? But to be born and raised into that culture, I wonder too, like, what is something that you would change? Since I understand the difficulties when it comes to being classically trained and not being able to see yourself in there, what is something that you would
Mm.
want to change, Kyle, to make it, you can see the different cultures, including your own?
I mean, I do a lot of musical theater more now, and that's what I try to focus on. So, especially when I'm in theater spaces, who are throughout time have been always mainly a white ruled space, and we have a lot of white ideas. Coming into that space my freshman year, going into college, I was, surrounded by people who didn't look like me, but I had to still uniquely be myself and find the people who look like me. So when I'm around the people who don't look like me, I know who I am inherently. I know it's in my heart. You can't change me. And there's work that needs to be done. And calling out a lot of the hypocrisy in the arts is the biggest thing that we can do, truly. Because every day we're seeing a new case of somebody saying, oh, well, I didn't know that was wrong. Buddy, you can't cast somebody who's not black when the character description says they are African American. I feel like all too often we're missing the point, like the true principle of the issue. Why are you taking things away that were created for these people in the first place? By these people, I mean our people. So many shows with our people recently are now only getting the notoriety they deserve only because of the fact that we're having issues with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that is so upsetting. It's genuinely so upsetting. There's so many things I wish I could change, but I mean, off rip, we already have diversity, equity, and inclusion in place for the most part, but is it showing itself? We can have a name and we can have programs, but if they're not actively working, they're not actively doing anything, there's no point of the program. It's just obsolete. Why are we wasting time and money and efforts when we can actually do the things that we're saying that we're supposed to do? We can have actual inclusive casting calls. Yes, that black girl has a different body type from that white girl because that is just genetics. But guess what? She can do the same ballet moves that white girl can do, probably better. And the problem is people always try to break it down into a black or white thing. I don't necessarily think it's black or white. We've had an issue across the board with every race. Everybody is taking shots at each other. Guys, we're all living and we're all going to die someday. So why do we have so much hate in our hearts? Especially in the field where we're supposed to be spreading love. So, I mean, if there's anything I can change, can we just be chill? Truly. Can we please just get along? Just long enough so we can have enough good shows, enough good productions, and actually give back to the people like we were supposed to, and lower ticket prices so the community can actually come see these shows.
That's so well said, Kyle, and I can't agree with you any more than what you just shared. Because even for this podcast, for seeing hip hop not just as entertainment, but as a genre that should be scholarly and academically sound and studied and used as part of this dominant narrative, and really unlearning what that dominant narrative has been pushed down on all of us. Whether you are, classically trained, whether you are going through the school as regularly as you're quote unquote supposed to, but also being able to showcase different identities, and not the identity that someone else thinks it's supposed to look like, but exactly for what it is. And I really appreciate those points, especially that that frustration. And as the youth, Kyle Anthony, you do have that opportunity to make that change with exactly what you're doing, and having opportunities like DJ Screw to represent such a beautifully contribution to the world of hip hop. And hip hop is renowned all over, just as you see different ballets, different operas, just as you think that, Hamilton is known all over the world, there's many people out in Tokyo that will jam DJ Screw as well. So it's just
Exactly.
making that understood that is a real thing. It's not theory. It's actually something that's on the ground, that's happening every day.
I like that. It's not theory. True. It is not theory. These are things we're seeing actively. The impact is worldwide, as you said. That is so true. My friend of mine, Frosty, he was in Japan about 2 weeks ago. Why was he doing a whole set hip hop? They rock, and I'm like, wait a minute, man. Don't let me fly to Japan. Don't let me fly to Japan, because it's looking a little lit over there. Ticket prices are crazy, though, so I don't think I'll be doing that right now on a college budget. But the impact is insane, and you see it in everything. But here's the problem. Why do people not like that? I'll tell you why. It's hard seeing the people you persecuted take the persecution you gave them, turn it around into an art form that makes them feel safe and blessed, put it back out. They're making money from it. People love it. Your own people love it. And you can't get behind that. There's a deeper problem. There's a deeper issue. It's not about the music. It's not about the music. Who's making it? Because they love Eminem. And I love Eminem. Everybody should love Eminem. But guys, who is Eminem's inspiration? Who's following in his footsteps? Guys, it all comes from the source. Look at the source material. It's just so upsetting to see, like Tyler, the Creator, he just put out his new album, Don't Tap the Glass.
Don't tap the glass, that's right.
Fantastic. Movement based. You're really feeling it. You got Busta Rhymes sample in the first song. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm having a great time. I'm loving it. Post on TikTok, people talking about some mid. Album's a 7 out of 10. I was like, all right, well, let me see who said that. I'm clicking on these profiles. I'm seeing a common theme. And what I'm thinking is it just a lack of understanding as well? Because there's no way you can hear this and not think, yeah, these are inherently just on paper, they're good songs. So you have to go out of your way to hate on them because, buddy, these are songs that just play on the radio. And if you didn't know who it was, you probably enjoy it more. But because he's not sticking to his original, like, the ideas and the sounds that he had on his album Flower Boy, a lot of his fans who are not African American or who are used to listening to rap like that or heavy hip hop, for some reason they can't get behind it, they can't channel it. And what's really upsetting is that most of this album isn't even just in your face hip hop, it's dance music. This is something you can vibe to. So it is a little frustrating, and moreover, it's just a 10 out of 10 album. So I think I'm a little biased. I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm
Well,
biased.
I think that not only, because I'm with you there too, 10 out of 10, really 100 out of 10 if you ask, but also it gives that notion that you know your history. You know that Busta Rhymes sample as soon as you hear it. You can tell that Jamiroquai is inspired with his theme, but you have to have that knowledge to be able to
Exactly.
appreciate what Tyler Creator has done and synthesized so many different styles. If you are somebody who is one faceted or just one prism, then yeah, you're going to find something wrong. And that's what a hater does. They're going to try to find
Exactly.
something wrong. They're not going to try to celebrate. And the issue that, I see with social media today with all generations is that this bandwagon effect is that if somebody over here says they don't like it, well, if they and it's 100,000 likes, well, then I don't like it. But you've never even taken the time to listen to it. You've never taken the time to
Exactly.
really unpack and understand this genius that Tyler the
Like,
Creator has brought in.
people are not taking the time to formulate true opinions about anything anymore.
Mhm.
Anything. I could tell somebody on the street, yeah, man, apples are bad for you. You really shouldn't be eating them. They really just might be like, you know what? I shouldn't be eating apples. Just because the influence of hearing somebody else and you feel like you need to conform, conformity is the biggest killer to artistic freedom and freedom in general. Why are we forcing ourselves to conform? I'm not saying go out in the street and start crashing your car, but I am saying there is nothing wrong with being yourself and knowing who you are. And why are we getting mad at people who are actively being themselves? That's the real issue. You're getting upset with people for being free.
For being free because they love themselves, and anybody who can dislike someone else not loving themselves, they don't love themselves inherently. A
Exactly.
classic case, I want to ask you that Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime show. I
Mm,
want you to think back with that particular show, and then it's exactly what you said, Kyle, about being your true self. It wasn't all the fanfare. He didn't have all the glitter or sequins of such. It was very much so West Coast California style, which became the issue because it was so much of who he is, this essence of who Kendrick Lamar, not adapting to anything, but being that essence of it all. There were still people that said, oh, it was the worst halftime show, it was terrible, it was this. But at the same token, do you understand the message that was shared? Did you take the time to unpack? But because somebody else said, somebody without credibility, somebody without the authority to even say why, they just said they didn't like it with no good reason. Oh, I didn't like the colors. I didn't like, well, it was red, white, and blue. Well, I didn't like this, instead of saying what the pink elephant actually is. But you
mm,
make that basis because of something that you could never do. And Kendrick Lamar, to me, was flawless in his attempt to bridge a nation at such a critical time with his music. And the streams across the world said what it is. And even with all of his Emmys and all of his awards and all of his concerts, both internationally and nationally, I mean, it speaks for himself. But that social media got people gaslit. It really does.
that is so true. Social media gaslighting might be that might be the phrase of the year. Social media gaslighting. Because I've never seen so many people actively just mhm. You can't you can't do that. You can't live that way. In no realm. Every time somebody says something to me, I'm already thinking, well, how do I actually feel about that? How do I actually feel? I'm hearing you out, but I have my own opinion because that's who we are as human beings. I'm sorry, I'm not about to just be sitting around like, yeah, that's so true. And if I don't know you, that's not fair. Even I know my mom from the day I was born. I question her, she questions me because we understand that as humans we cannot inherently be right 100% of the time, even though we like to think that we are. You feel me? it's the thought process that a lot of people need to just break out of. Because what do you mean you were listening to Travis Scott's new album, Jack Boys 2, and you heard him, and you didn't understand the reference. That's what really got me. They were like, what is this? Buddy, I've been making that sound in the car for years since I first heard the song. What do you mean? Y'all just don't understand the cultural reference, so then you choose to hate on it. Hands off from there because you're not even doing any work. You're just straight up hating. Live your life first and understand something about culture and where people are coming from before you can even open your mouth to make any claims. It's insane. It's truly insane. And it's aggravating, especially on TikTok. Especially on TikTok.
I agree. I agree on a lot of platforms, including TikTok. But when we think about the parallels, right, of what hip hop can actually do, if somebody were to actually take the time and look at the history, or just listen to the music, just actually listen to what the music is saying, and then asking to understand. Because when you were talking about the experience in Japan, people love the rhythm, but they don't want our blues. They don't want to understand where it all stemmed from. Like, why?
They don't want to hear us. They just want to dance.
Right?
They don't want to hear us, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, they want it to be one way. They want it to be entertainment. They want it to be, this big they want it to be. But then you also have the people that can actually change the culture, like you and I. That's what we're here to do on this podcast. That's what you do on the several different podcasts that you are a part of, and as Generation Z and as a leader. We take the time to unpack, to discuss, to share out the obvious, so that others can definitely take that time to unlearn and check themselves. Because like you say, even as a mother myself, my sons, as much as I think I know everything, I still have to hear them out because they're going to take the reins. You all are going to be the leaders of the new world, of this planet. And we have to definitely hear what you have to say, but we also have to take into account that maybe how I feel isn't correct. And I shouldn't have to be the only one that does that. We all have to take that time to be like, you know what? Let me give Tyler, the Creator, a chance. Let me actually take the time to hear what Chance the Rapper is saying. Like, it's a particular song with the stars where he's talking about where when he moved into a different neighborhood and the lady didn't understand there would be people up there. I forget the actual song, but I know it's one of my favorites by Chance the Rapper. But he's like, even being a millionaire, rapper, right, entertainer, people are still going to have one idea of who you are and know everything about you and judge you based on that. And that's not just specific to one race, but people, period, will do that. And that's not fair, right? That's not what hip hop or what art does. Don't expect for art to be what you expect it to be. It is for the beholder, the one who actually gets to experience the art. My opinion.
Exactly. Because of course it's all about our perception and how, our perspective as well, moreover, about how we felt about what we watched and or listened to. And I feel just from maybe, I don't know, the last few album drops and the last few films that have come out this year, especially with my generation, we're really living in a generation of just pure haterade. It's just being drank up by a lot of people. And the problem with that, it isn't even just the racial issues that are stemming from this, or the issues between men and women that are spurring from this, or the issue between people who are exploring their sexuality and people who are not. There's a common theme. There's difference. And for some reason, difference cannot be accepted by a lot of people, even if it's not affecting them. That's the biggest issue. You don't have to listen to Don't Tap the Glass if you don't want to. You went out of your way to listen to it. And you then went out of your way to go on TikTok and post a video about how much you didn't like it. You could have taken less time, just sat and listened to the album, truly just listen to it like a regular human being, instead of somebody who's on a hate watch. Because that's weird. That is so strange. Because if your perspective is that, yeah, I'm going into this thinking I won't like it, I probably won't like it then. Truly. If I'm go into something think I'm going to hate it. I'm probably going to force myself to end up not liking it. Doesn't matter how great it was. I just need more people to look through a different lens, please. And then following that, take accountability for the fact that you weren't doing that in the first place. And you're not as cultured as you think you are just because you listen to Frank Ocean and Tyler the Creator. You're not. That's not a flex if you're not hearing what they're saying. So I agree with you completely. You can't just listen to the music and not listen to us. That's upsetting. We're speaking to y'all for a reason. We write these things down for a reason. DJ Screw did what he was doing for a reason. He was like, I have a sound that needs to be out there. People need to hear this. I'm gonna put it out there. And in doing so, he was able to form a collective of individuals who had a like-minded idea, a like-minded sound, and a soul, and they were able to go forth and create something great. Because now look at us. Lil Kiki, Slim Thug, Paul Wall, Mike Jones, everybody is having a great time. You all know why? Because of the foundation that DJ Screw was able to really lay down. He really was able to lay down. Pioneer. Truly gone too soon. Like, genuinely gone too soon. Because I remember we were speaking to his sister, Michelle, before we started filming. And that was crazy for me because I was like, wow, this is real. I'm really doing this, and we're really going into this process, because you're talking to somebody who still actively grieving their brother, and you're playing their brother. They're the younger version, and you're asking them about their growing up, how things were. Like, in getting that perspective, I was like, wow, this is a story that definitely needs to be told, and I need to put all of my effort into it. And I need to do everything I can do to make sure this story is told properly. Because if that was, I don't have a sister, I'm an only child. But my homegirls would be like, yo, he got a story, it should be told. So, coming from that perspective, like if that was me, I want justice done on my name properly. I'm on it. We're on our P's and Q's. Same thing with my writing. I'm on it. There are things that need to be talked about. Y'all, why we skipping topics? Y'all know there are topics of discussion in the HBCU community. Yeah, we need to talk about. Number one, Howard. What's going on? We can't raise tuition and act like a high-level institution, which you are. But the problem is, you're not offering the same level of housing. You're not offering the same level of education because you don't have some of the majors that people really want. You're missing musical theater, the setup completely the way it should be. So we're right here in terms of what we should be providing, but pricing's right here.
Yeah.
That HBCU tax is insane. I will say, HBCU tax is crazy for poor housing, and you're having issues going on. I'm an advocate. Go to HBCU. But I will say, prepare yourself to deal with some things, because not everything is great. Not everything is great. The community is truly the biggest thing you're there for. You are there for community and to build and network. But you really gonna have to deal with the hassles. Yes, homecoming is gonna be great, but next year, where's your home? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I had the experience of going to HBCU. I went to Xavier University in New Orleans.
Okay, Xavier.
Yeah, I went there for 2 years, and then I went to Southern for a little while, and I ended up getting my undergrad from LSU, and then my master's and all from other PWI institutions, actually. But with that HBCU experience, it's like you say, that community, that being able to see yourselves, but it's like that notorious theme that all of them has its challenges. Like, it's never as what you think it is. It's definitely not like a different world. It's more so of having to navigate and learn how to persevere, and really have to wait in line to know where your housing is going to be. No matter how far in advance you actually applied for it, you have to wait in line and wait a long time, and then have to use temporary housing and stay in this hotel, and then maybe have to move to this one, and then you still have classes to go to, and then there's still issues with the infrastructure, and that's for, unfortunately, most of them, which I feel is so unfair. And Howard University still being in the news with that issue. I'm glad that you brought that up. That aspect of it, I feel, is unfair for the students, for the faculty and staff as well, where I'm sure that there are people that are saying, you know what, let's do this instead of this. But you also have the
Yeah.
people in charge that are able to make changes, but for whatever reason, they're not.
And I think my biggest issue is that those they put out those Instagram posts, detailing how many students their accounts were overbalanced, blah blah blah. I had never seen a school do that ever in my life. I
Right.
never even thought a school should do that. I was like, are y'all trying to cover face right now because students are upset about the fact that balance are showing up out of nowhere, middle of the summer, right before school is about to start moving in, housing, all of this stuff. So it's supposed to be figured out within these next coming weeks. Why are you doing your student body like this? And why are you raising tuition at such a sudden rate and with a crazy price hike? Crazy price hike. Like, if you're pulling a student loan, that feels like, hell if you don't get a job immediately after college because interest is crazy, especially if you got a government loan. That's even worse. That I truly, if you have a full loan from the government covering your school, you got to get an internship or something while you in school. You need to have a job lined up because these loans are the big. If I'm being honest, I think student loans are one of the biggest issues that are affecting people going to school today.
Oh
There is
yeah.
a fear of I can't afford to live my life at all after I graduate. I'll have 4 years, maybe 8 years of fun if I go to grad school, and then those 4 years in grad school aren't really fun. You're hustling because you're in grad school. When you finally get out of school, you're like, okay, let me go, I'm gonna get my life together. I'm feeling great. I graduated, blah blah blah. I'm getting a call. Yeah, man, you gotta pay this loan back. I just graduated. You gotta pay that loan back. I don't have a job yet. To make it worse, the job market is looking horrible.
Yes.
So anybody who just graduated and you have a job, I'm so happy. Like truly, I'm so thankful for you because this job market is looking insane. I'm talking about people are putting ghost hiring things up. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, we're hiring. And they're not actually hiring. Oversaturating the job market to make it look good, but we're not getting anything. We're just gonna have a big short type of situation again that like they had with the housing market crash. We can't be having fake job listings and giving people false hope. College students are really going through it right now. Like genuinely, with a lot of governmental changes as well. It's looking really bad for anybody who's told alone at all, especially an HBCU student, because we already know. I I believe that in some factor, of course I don't work at the bank. I don't work at the loan office. I'm not approving this. But in some factor, I do believe in some way race plays a part into this because people get approved for loans all the time. They ain't got no credit. Why? Why are you approving them for this loan that you know they can't pay back? Mm, you know good and well that they can't pay that back and how that's going to detrimentally harm them. And you know they didn't understand that interest rate. You didn't explain that to them. You're taking advantage of people. And can't I can't stand that. You're taking advantage of young people trying to get an education. I've never heard of anything crazier. Oh, I want to contribute to the workforce, get a job. Okay, I need to go to college. All right, bet. I'll go. It's $200,000 and there's barely any assistance from the government that said I needed this job so I can pay my taxes and my student loan back if I didn't get a scholarship. So like,
And
there's
then
a
you
lot
have
of
to
navigating.
don't forget you have to eat too. You have to eat and you have to pay your
Oh,
rent. You have to
yeah,
pay your bills and have the lights on top of all of
gotta
that.
live, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
So
God
it's something
forbid.
I want to add though. Let me add to that, Kyle. Even though I'm going to get back to that DJ Screw legacy, but I also want to make this comment to say that even as my age, and I'm much older than you, but keep in mind that even for me, having a son in college, for me to still have to deal with my student loans and having to still have to figure that out for myself as he sits there and navigates for him. And those predatory loans that nobody really talks about it. They give you all these commissary notes to sign, but nobody really takes that time to explain. And so, like you say, going into the job market, you kind of have to settle for whatever you can get instead of actually reaching for the stars and being
Exactly.
the job that you actually went to school for. So it's a challenge in every aspect for many generations, not just Generation Z, but you would think that, I'm an elder millennial, so you would think that at least by the time it got to you all, that the process would have been streamlined, but it really sounds like it's just, it's worse.
Because the concept of university before was that it was public university. You just need to go to college. Like a lot of colleges used to be free, but a lot of people they don't want to say it. Well, they do want to say it, but I'll say it right now. Ronald Reagan, so many of his policies have continued to affect the American people for no reason. He had no reason to put some of these policies in place, truly, but he has, and because of that, we are still feeling the effects of trickle down economics. Nothing has truly trickled down to the people yet. Nothing at all. And with that being said, some of his policies that affected loans, that made people have to start getting loans for college, are still affecting us today. And it's really upsetting. And the director of the Federal Reserve was speaking to Congress about this. Actually, he was saying, I don't understand why we have forgiveness for millionaires and with their tax debt, whatever. They they can just go bankrupt and it'll be fine. But people who went to go get an education, they can't get forgiveness on their student loans.
A lot of hoops and valleys and jumps you have to go through in order to get there. You're right about that, young Kyle. I'll tell you what. I mean, you are
Because it's
speaking
strange.
truth, facts. Please continue.
Because it follows with this part right here. Here's the best part.
Mhm.
Who do you think was the most affected by having to start paying for school and having to start pulling student loans? Minority groups.
Yeah.
Let's follow that up with, now we're looking at a lot of white people. For some reason, they don't believe in education. And well, let me not say white people, conservatives. I want to be specific in what I'm saying here. There are a lot of conservatives who don't believe in true education and getting it properly, right? So they're not going to college, even like out of high school. These are like 18-year-olds, and they've made the decision, I'm not going to college for whatever reason. And that's fine. But in the minority community, college needs to always be the expectation. And it's been in my household. So like there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're going to find your way to college. I don't care how it happens, but it will happen. That is not the same in those conservative communities. They're not, I don't see the push to be like, you need to go to school. You can sit around, but as long as we gerrymander and we don't like the liberals and we tell them how they're stupid while we follow a facade from our president, I can't get behind this behavior when people are struggling and dying in the street because they can't afford to get food on their plate. That's an issue for me.
Right. And continuously so too. This is the themes that you've just shared, Kyle, are themes that have been shared in hip hop music since the late 70s, 80s, about poverty, about single mothers, about incarceration and recidivism, and indeed trying to gain an education, but having so many barriers. Like, okay, yeah, you can get an education, but you have to be held down by this loan, and 50% of whatever you make, you'll have to send this back. And I mean, that is just the trope of it all. But why? To bring back what you said about DJ Screw, I think that is the poignant point, is that he made something out of nothing. He created such a unique, out of this world type of a sound, type of a movement that has been imitated but never successfully duplicated. But imagine if somebody can take that same idea, that same dynamism of saying that, you know what, this is something that has not been seen or heard. This law, this way of thinking is new. And let's push this so that everybody else can benefit from it, right? And so with Houstonians, especially in the Gulf Coast at that time frame, we benefited from that sound, from that chopped and screwed, that essence, that flavor of entertainment, but also thinking about that in politics, being able to have someone to come in like Jasmine Crockett. You have those type of politicians that will state and say what the obvious is and make people understand that the way that you're doing this is not only incorrect, it's corrupt. And it's so far from the truth of what needs to happen, but you have to have that type of voice. So I'm putting DJ Screw and Jasmine Crockett in the same pedestal, because we need pioneers like that that are going to say and do what the people need for them to do in a way that may have never been done before and maybe not duplicated, but we can be led by that, because change has to happen. It has to happen.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. You know what? Something about DJ Screw I always really liked when I was listening to his music, like just going down the discography, to really like understand and listen to him, listen to what he was saying. You don't hear a lot of him really just like straight up, disrespecting women like that in his songs. You don't hear a lot of that. And I know why that is. He was raised by a single mother and he lived with his older sister during that time frame. Bro had no reason to like have any disrespect towards women. He loves them. I mean, you will hear the B word in them songs. You're gonna hear it, but you can hear the tone. I will say, you know what I'm saying, the tone of how it sounds, and something about that is so powerful to me. The impact of the single mother household in America today, especially with my generation. There's a lot of young men who are being raised by single mothers, but for some reason they don't they're no longer having appreciation for their mothers the way they used to because of social media. They're finding resentment for their mothers, and that's really upsetting to me because I love my mom. I love her to death. I also love my dad, and that's the problem. You need to be there, guys. You can love your dad even if he don't live with you. You can love your mom even if she don't live with you. There really doesn't have to be beef unless somebody's truly starting something. But the fact that I'm seeing a lot of young black men start, hating on their moms and being like, yeah, I won't be dating black women because of blah blah blah. What are you doing? Same thing for black women. I won't be dating black men because of blah blah blah. You got to think, maybe these are the men and women that you're dating, that you're actively seeking out and finding. That's on you. You need to go look for better people and stop dissing your whole other half of your ethnicity. For what? What happened to unity? That's what I loved about, honestly, anything pre-2000s, I felt like as a people, we just looked so united consistently. Even when there was beef, there was a united front, and the brothers would beef behind that united front, but they're not gonna let it affect actually being for the people. Like you would I'm not understanding it because I feel like so many young black artists who are now upcoming in the streamer world are disrespecting black women for no reason. Man, why are you talking about your mama like that? That's my issue. Why are you talking about your grandmother like that, your auntie? Because if I'm talking about women, that's what's gonna pop into my head, and then I'm gonna shut up because there's no reason for me to be talking bad about them unless they did something wrong to me. If there was some girl in your past, young black man, that affected you, that was some girl. She got her own demon she was working on. And now this has become your demon and you need to get that off of you. And you need to grow. Because too often I'm seeing young black men wanting to become aggressive and yelling. Why can't you talk about your emotions and how you actually feel? It's an issue. Because the picture has been painted of the black man as, more of a stoic, nonchalant figure. He needs to be locked in, all right? So then you get the aggressive black man or the aggressive black woman, and it's like you can't show emotion because even this conversation right now, you let's say you're a white woman, somebody, they might be like, okay, well, I feel like you're getting a little, heated about. I am. I should be. This is an upsetting thing, but my aggression isn't aimed at you. And I feel like all too often in these conversations, a lot of people who are Caucasian like to take up for themselves and be like, oh, well, not all of us are like that. If you're not like that, then I wasn't talking about you. It has nothing to do with you. So young black man, if you're not like this has nothing to do with you. And if it is about you, because I know some of y'all are listening, shaping up. What are you doing? Why are you disrespecting your mothers on a daily basis, calling women B words that you don't even know? So go ahead and relax yourself and get yourself together. Because that's strange behavior, man. That's strange. You can't grow up like that, for real. You need to rein it in, please.
I like
Quick PSA.
I quit. No, I love that PSA because you talked about that passion, being passionate about something, and that misguided notion that if someone's passionate, oh, that means they're aggressive. They're being aggressive, and so you dismiss what they're saying because oh, since they're being aggressive, now have a fear. And when you talked about the unity that you saw pre 2000s, like in the 90s, there was a unity there, right? I feel what you're saying that in the 90s, when you talk about hip hop music, the culture, the music videos, even the TV shows. There was this theme of unity, a united front, trying to make changes. The HBCU movement, rappers and entertainers had on HBCU paraphernalia. I mean, it was a charge for blackness, for people to be proud of who they are, to wear different. I remember I was probably around your age, a little younger, and I had the Malcolm X tennis shoes that they were advertising on BET, and you were proud to be
Oh,
black.
wow.
You were proud to be, being educated by listening and hearing things that showcased who you are. Yet like you said, when you think about the changes in education and
Mm,
how um try to take that away, right? Because the dominant nature of it all, just like you say with the opera and with acting and with all of those considerations, that Shakespeare is what's studied. We're going to be looking at specific things, not those other things, because it becomes aggressive, it becomes so graphic. But that's the reality. You're thinking about wanting to make changes for an audience where we're thinking about the changes in education. We're looking at the changes in music, the way the audience can be skewed in social media. All of that really is tied in exactly what you said, Kyle, about how people can be manipulated because they don't take that time to study, to look at their history and to really know themselves, that knowledge of self. And that is the
exactly.
big key that you are unlocking right now, is that people have to have such knowledge of self, that you love yourself so much that you can embrace others. And we have this united front so that campuses like Howard University or other campuses and other, different rules and doctrinations that they try to put on us, they can't, because we're not going to vote in that way. We're not going to
Exactly.
vote. We're not going to support it. We're going to use protests to showcase that we have a dislike, we have a disagreement, and don't use this fallacy to say, oh, well, now they're protesting, it's aggressive now, oh no, it's a fear. Or no, listen to what is being said and do not penalize me for me being my culture. If I'm loud,
Exactly.
I'm loud. So I just
Because what?
to you.
Because why are people? I still can't get over the BLM protest era. They're like, I don't understand why they're protesting. Oh no, man. I think if you saw your people dying in the street on social media consistently, after a while you want to go outside and be like, yo, can y'all stop killing my people? Can you stop killing, actually murdering, loss of life? This is what happened to morality. I feel like people don't have that in them anymore. People don't understand ethics. I It's wrong to put a knee on somebody's neck. And when they said they can't breathe, you don't move your knee off of what's clearly hindering them from breathing. Yes, guys, that's wrong. These things are wrong. In no facet can they be right. There was no self-defense occurring. So
Right.
what's going on? I mean, even now, Jacksonville, sucker punched him in the face because he didn't have his headlights on during the day.
Yeah, yeah, that seatbelt. I know. I saw that too. Yeah. It.
Didn't have his seatbelt on. I mean, his headlights on during the day.
Yeah.
What?
Because it wasn't raining. But then, is that the one where they beat in the window? I mean, there's several different videos out there of different instances. So I just want to be specific on which one that we're talking
Yeah, this one, the cop, they beat that window in, and then out of nowhere, we see a mean left hook come straight to this brother's jaw. Mind you, his hands are down.
about. Yeah.
He's showing no signs of, even trying to block anything. No defensive movements. He's sitting straight up. He's jarred because you just smashed his window. Then you sucker punch him. I I had we haven't really had a lot of incidents recently, I will say, since Biden was in office. But now we're getting back to this level of people getting comfortable showing bigoted actions and showing their true colors. I'm a little scared to go outside, y'all. I'm a little scared. I had a cop behind me yesterday. I was like, I think that I'm just gonna go the other way. It's not that important anymore. Like, whatever I was doing is not serious because the fear is so real. I haven't felt it in a while, but I'm feeling it again. It used to just be, oh, am I going over the speed limit? Now I'm really like, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I can get pulled over for not having on my headlights during the day. The car's lights are automatic. They don't turn on during the day.
Right. Right. That's right.
I don't know. It is upsetting, especially as a black man, seeing another black man get manhandled over some BS, something that was not true, and you're, forcing an issue. Why? You didn't have you were just wasting everyone's time because you felt like you need to show force and show power and show control. You don't have control because he's a human being and he wasn't doing anything wrong. You didn't have control there. You didn't deserve to have because this isn't a power situation. Just step back. Yeah, I don't know. I can talk about that for a while, but I'm not because it's polarizing how people are acting since Trump has come back into office. And I know how I feel. But if I said exactly how I felt, I might get the show shut down, and I can't do it to you. Can't
Well,
do it to you.
I appreciate that, yet I also want to add to that. Like, I am all for letting the youth lead and you saying exactly how you feel because this is what it is. The unfortunate reality, though, is that this is something that we saw in 90s hip hop music as well. We had F the Police, we had Fight the Power of Public Enemy, you had NWA, you had these groups that was pushing this music. Not so much today, right? People want to twerk, they want to be entertained, they want it to be one thing. But we had that music that talked about this exact experiences that troubled my youth, my generation, that still is going on today, and even more so. So when do we get to talk about it? When are you able to actually be able to explain and express how you feel and present that to everybody else? This is my creative project. This is my opportunity to be able to not only talk about things about hip hop, but to talk about things that affect us as people that do listen to hip hop. So no matter what the conversation, what the subject or the topic, we use hip hop to kind of numb ourselves, to be able to push through and go through those things. When you have DJ Screw, you have Tyler the Creator, and mind you, these people like Chance and Tyler and Kendrick, they know exactly what's going on, and they use that their platforms in a very creative way. No, they're not trying to get canceled, but they're also trying to use it in a creative way for people to still be able to see themselves and be able to celebrate themselves.
Exactly.
We won't be able to, unfortunately, Kyle, we won't be able to be like South Park and be able to say and show exactly what it is. We'll never,
Ooh, South Park.
like, seriously, the way that they did that is to be applauded, right? At the same token,
Truly.
that's not something you and I could do. That, we can
Mm-mm.
never be that open and that
Mm.
blatant and showing our disagreement to the popular dominant narrative. Yet at the same token, being able to discuss that and share that out, the Nanda Lewis in her legacy, when she was a speaker with BET, she had this thing called Youth Summit, where she would gather the
Mm.
youth. This was every Saturday morning, and it was her and another co-host, and they would gather the youth at that time and talk about the things that affected them, and being able to showcase that. And a lot of those young people in the audience grew up to be those change makers. And I encourage you and even myself to even be that in that legacy, to allow for the youth like yourself and even those younger than you, because we have Generation Alpha that's coming about, that we cannot continue the same way that we are. Campuses like Howard University, those students deserve a change. That faculty and staff deserves a change. People in education at every campus deserves a change. Having to drive and see the police in your rearview mirror, we all deserve that change, because I feel the same way you do, Kyle. If there's a policeman behind me, do I have my car insurance? Is the light fixed?
No, literally.
Every single time. Like, that's the trauma. That's exactly what goes through my mind. It's never a comfortable thing. So how do we change that? What can we do to make that united change and make that happen? And I'm all for it, right? So we can continue to talk
Yeah.
about this. I definitely want to invite you to another opportunity to come back on the podcast. We even put on a webinar to talk about the things that we can actively do and create something new. We can be DJ Screw and
Yes, ma'am. Oh, most definitely.
chop and screw the ideas of today and make it something better for tomorrow.
I like that. I like that a lot. Chop and screw the ideas of today. Make it better. I like that.
Yeah.
That's hard. I'm gonna write that down. I will. Yeah. I mean, I will say the biggest thing now, as a people, we need to focus and we gotta stay locked in. We can't. We gotta stop arguing with each other. We just gotta focus on the fact that there's a bigger issue at hand that's affecting our community. Less infighting. And if we are having it, drop it for a sec. Y'all can pick that beef up later. There's actually bigger issues right now, such as, public freedom and public freedom of speech is being, cut off, especially if we're looking at like CBS, Paramount. It's just it's sad to see that. But, this is the world that we're living in, and we have to adapt and grow around it the best ways that we can with the use of community. Community is the most important thing now.
That's right. Community is. I know for your generation, we call you all YNs, but the YNs stands for Young Nobles. And so
I like that.
being those young nobles, being those leaders, and being your unapologetic selves is what we absolutely applaud Generation Z for showcasing. So with that, Kyle Anthony Mosley, I'm so thankful to have you on the show today. And again, you are welcome on the podcast at any time. And I want to really talk about putting a webinar together so we can do our own youth summit and do like a chopped and screw type series and legacy type thing. But it has been a joy to talk with you today for sure.
Thank you. Hey, thank you for having me on. Truly, I can't wait to come back.
For sure. All right. With that said, Hip Hop Scholar Podcast family, we'll see you on the next segment. Take care.